Hi, my name is Lindsay Bard. I am a member of your class. I live in Saudi Arabia, in a tiny town called Dhahran, which is near Dammam, which is on the eastern province across the border from Bahrain, which is another tiny country. My country is, well, dry. We have no alcohol here, officially. We also have no pork products. There are no pigs in the kingdom whatsoever. Um, they are haram against Muslim cultural law, so we don't have them. Can't buy it. Yes, I do miss bacon with my breakfast sandwiches. The dress code. In just about every Muslim country, dress code is modesty for women. That means long sleeves and full pants. Like, we don't show our bits and pieces off in public. At home, whole different story. Whole different story. Colors and beads and sequins and Dolce and Gabbana and Ferragamos, everything goes at home. And under your abaya. The abaya is the traditional black outfit that goes over your clothes. This is one of my abayas. And you'll notice it's not entirely black. There is no such thing as a black only abaya. You may find women who wear very modest abayas. They'll be made of satin or silks, and they may be very plain, but there are no two abayas that are alike. Colors are a big thing coming in now. Pockets are a big fashion statement at the moment. So this is one of my abayas. It's a lightweight cotton for summer. This is another one of my abayas. It's blue and gold trimmed and black with big fluffy bell sleeves. Hijab, which is the headscarf covering, has never been required for Western women, so I've never had to wear one. It is not required for Saudi women. Technically, the abaya is not required for any women. As long as you are modestly dressed, you're fine. They are cultural choices. They have tradition in both the faith, but they also have tradition just in culture here. The hijab, the headscarf, you would be expected to wear that if you were entering a holy place like a mosque, where they would ask for a little bit more modesty, and so you would cover your hair there. But ladies in my office, some ladies wear abaya and headscarf all the time. Some ladies just wear the abaya. Some ladies don't wear either. It's very much a personal decision. The hijab traditionally goes back to Muhammad's first wife, who covered her hair as a sign of her devotion to God. And so in sort of that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, some women will choose to cover their hair as a sign of modesty, as part of their expression of their faith. There is also niqab, which is the face covering. And you'll see this with women who are following a significantly more modest or conservative approach to their faith. And yes, you will see them in the mall eating Popeye's coleslaw, where they pull the niqab up and they put the fork underneath and they put the niqab back down again while they chew. I have never been to Mecca or Medina, and I never will be. Even though I live in this country and it can be hard to get in, even before there were tourist visas, which have just become a thing, I cannot go there. No non-Muslim can go to those two cities. They are the two holy cities of Islam. And if you are not Muslim, you are not allowed in. That's just the way of it. The king here is referred to as the guardian of the two holy mosques. That is one of his official royal titles. And people are pretty proud of that here in the kingdom. People are proud of being the site of the mosques of the faith, the two major holy sites of the faith. It does cause problems. We are a Sunni-run country, but we have Shia, and of course our neighbors are also Shia, and there are differences and conflicts between those two differences. And that feeds a lot of the tension in our region. The month of Hajj, which is part of the Islamic calendar, every year we have over 3 million people who enter the kingdom specifically to go to the sites in Mecca and Medina as part of Hajj, Hijri. This is, of course, in normal times. Didn't happen in 2020 because of COVID. And it may or may not happen again because of 2021 because of COVID. They are very, very strict in the number of visas they give out for the number of people who can come in, because it requires a great deal of people organization. You have to purchase a travel package through a approved travel system site. They put you in there's a whole tent city that's built up. And you go and you get to do your bits and pieces, and you have an order in which you can do things, and you get timings where you can go to places, and you're only allowed to stay in the kingdom. So if you come in on a Hijra, a Hajj visa, you're only allowed to stay a very short period of time in the kingdom, because they have to get you in and get you out so more people can come and do Hajj. Everyone who goes is expected to come back sick. This is in normal times, not even COVID times. It is understood that if you go on Hajj, you should take 2 weeks off of work because you're going to come back with the flu. You're just going to come back sick. Everybody does. That's how it is. The Kaaba in the center of Mecca, in the main mosque, is covered in these huge black and gold cloths. There's 4 sides to the Kaaba, and each side has a big black and gold cloth that is hand sewn in gold thread, real gold thread, and it costs something like $3 to $7 million to make just one side. Each side is replaced every single year. Each side is paid for by a different country. The Saudi government always pays for one. If you want to see one, and you're like me, non-Muslim, you can go to the Riyadh Museum, where they have one of the older cloths that was taken down, is there on display, so people can go and see it up close. It's really, really pretty. So the cloth itself literally does not survive more than a year in good condition, because it's outside all the time in the heat and the sun and the rain and the dust. And all of that, the cloth just disintegrates over time. And so they only manage to survive for a year. They get replaced. Hospitality here is a big deal. It's a big deal. It's part of the faith that you are to be hospitable. And so they've sort of taken that to, in a big way, they've taken to hospitality. You will not go to anybody's house where they will not immediately offer you coffee, tea, water, juice. And if you try and say no, they'll be offended that you weren't accepting of their generosity. You'll be offered dates, which have not a faith thing, but there's stories about Muhammad eating dates and they are really, really good for you. So they're kind of, and we grow a lot of them here. Some of the world's best dates are grown here in Saudi. So they're kind of really proud of their dates, and they'll offer them to you. You have to take something. Even if you don't eat it or drink it there, they'll offer you a bottle of water. You can take the bottle of water away with you, but you have to take it. You can't just not take a food or a drink. It would be extremely rude to not take anything. And it would be extremely rude for them not to offer you something. This translates not just at the home, but it makes our office life really fun because they bring that into the workplace as well. So every morning there's coffee at 8 o'clock. We get into work at 7. By 8 o'clock, everybody's in, coffee is being poured. You go to the cube, the ladies all have their coffee out, little tiny coffee cups. Not so much during COVID times. We've had to put our coffee mornings on hold. So along with the hospitality thing and the coffee also comes chocolates and lots of cake. because of we have an incredible sweet tooth here in the kingdom, and that actually has led to a problem. Middle Eastern countries also tend to have one of the highest rates for type 2 diabetes in the world. Future me breaking in. I forgot these yesterday. I meant to mention them. Mashallah and Inshallah are two phrases we use a lot. Basically every day I will say these words at some point. You'll hear the word Allah in both phrases. In one case, Mashallah means praise be to God, and Inshallah means if God wills it. Mashallah is used whenever you are praising something. You would then add Mashallah, and it does two things. The first is that you are thanking God for the thing that exists and all of the people who have helped create that thing, right? So if your kid gets on the honor roll and you say, hey, my kid got on the honor roll, I may be like, oh my gosh, mashallah, so good. I am praising you, the parents, for helping your child. I am praising the child for being good at that, but I'm also praising God for giving you, the parents, and the child the ability to do those things, to be on the honor roll, right? So it's a good thing. But it's also used as part of this hospitality culture to say, this is an excellent thing. But in hospitality culture, if I praise something that you have, you should give it to me as a gift, because I appreciate it, but I don't necessarily want the thing you have. I just want you to know that I like the way it looks with you. I like your necklace, I like your shirt, but I like how you wear them, right? I don't want you to take it off and give it to me. So you say mashallah as to say, I appreciate how great this looks in your life, and that God has given you these things, but I don't want them for me. Please don't give them to me. So it does two things. If your kid gets on the honor roll, I would say, mashallah, your kid got on the honor roll, so good. Which means, I'm so happy your family has gotten a kid on the honor roll. Also, please don't give me your kid. I don't want your kid. So it's it does kind of a dual thing there. It's more of a joke when you're talking about like children and things, because obviously nobody's going to give you their child. But if I was wearing like a necklace, it would be considered rude for me to not offer to give that to you. And it would be considered rude if I didn't then take it. So we always say mashallah when we're praising something, something good that's happened. Inshallah, which is if God wills it, right, is supposed to be, and around the world it generally means, and is used in this context of, this thing will happen unless something prevents it from occurring through like a natural disaster, right? So if I came to my coworker and I said, hey, are you going to have that project finished by tomorrow? And he said, yes, tomorrow, no problem, inshallah. Then what he means is, or what he's supposed to mean is, yes, I will have it for you tomorrow. I'm working on it, unless the creek rises and the place floods and my computers all go down and I can't prevent that from happening. That's with God, right? That's what that's supposed to mean. Here in Saudi, it has kind of an ironic meaning as well. So you'll see people who use it to say, I don't really want to do that work. So the only way it's getting done is if God comes down himself and does it for me, which is not how it's supposed to be used. And a lot of Muslims in other parts of the world don't like that we use it ironically here, but we do. So it can be a little tricky when somebody, when you ask for a work project or something and they go, yeah, sure, no problem, inshallah, it'll happen. And I'm like, oh, is it gonna happen? We don't know. Are you using it ironically or are you using it honestly? It's unclear. If you hear the phrase bukra inshallah, bukra means tomorrow, it's not happening, period, ever. That's not what it's supposed to mean, obviously. It's supposed to be tomorrow, yes, unless something happens. But in reality, around here, it means no. It means tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow if God does it himself. But I'm not going to do it. So if you get are you going to have that project done? And they go, bukra inshallah. And I'm like, then you're not getting your project. Just go on about your day. Find another outlet because you're not going to have it done. It's not supposed to be that way, but that is how we use it. Because people and language, this is how we work. Anyways, all right, back to yesterday. Every year during Ramadan, lots of money is raised. This is kind of in the States, or in the States certainly, but in Christian countries, we do a lot of our charitable giving around Christmas time. This is kind of the same thing. They do their charitable giving during Ramadan, and they give a lot of money during Ramadan. And most companies here will match the charitable giving. Speaking of mosques, men go to mosques. Women, not necessarily, and definitely not as much. In Islam, you pray 5 times a day. By tradition, men always pray together. Generally, that means that they hear the call to prayer, which around here, our muezzin sounds really good. It's nice actually to hear them calling to prayer over the loudspeakers that go out over the whole community. If you have a good muezzin, I have heard some bad muezzins, and they're terrible. So if you have a good muezzin, it sounds really, really nice, sort of wafting over during the sunset. But men are expected to pray together as a sort of communal thing. So in our office area, there's a mosque across the street that men can go to during the workday. But there's also a sort of section of one little hallway that's kind of not, it's off to the side, so it doesn't get as much foot traffic, and it's also in the direction of Mecca. So every prayer time, you will see sort of the guys coming together. They'll go in, they'll wash their hands and feet in the bathroom, and then they'll head over to this one little area where they pull out the prayer mats, and they pray towards Mecca. But of course, it's like the end of that hallway is one of our conference rooms in our office building. So it kind of all looks like they're praying to our conference room, but you're not allowed to be in there when they're actually praying. So the conference room shuts down from about around noonish every day, while the men pray. Women are not required to pray in a group. There's a couple of reasons for this, but the most obvious is a sort of cultural reason. And the cultural reason is that women traditionally cared for the children. They were in the home with cooking fires going, and you don't want people leaving your home when you have to leave the fire going and you come back and find your house is burned down. So by tradition, women can stay at home with the children and the cooking fires and pray at home. They can go to the mosque. There's usually a women's section. It's separated from the men's section, usually with a kind of screen so that women can see out, but men can't really very well see in to see the women praying. But they are not required to. Children. Children are not specifically invited to attend mosque. Babies are not expected to go to mosque. It's not like church in the U.S. where, mom shows up with baby. Like, that doesn't happen. Children are not expected to go to mosque until they are able to follow good directions, be on their best behavior, and they have to be able to hold their parent's hand and walk under their own power before they're allowed in the mosque. And generally, their rule is kind of for 5-year-olds. Before that, children are not expected to be at mosque. They will read the Quran with their family at home. Hi, future me again. If you see somebody praying, don't walk in front of them. You're blocking their path to Mecca. But you'll generally see they've put a physical object in front of them, like a chair or even like a really big purse, and that creates a physical barrier, in which case just walk around that barrier and you're okay. But don't walk between that barrier and them. And if they don't have a physical object in front of them, just go behind instead of in front of. All hotel rooms, this is always fun to go to a hotel room in a Middle Eastern country. Every hotel room has a sticker somewhere on the wall, it's always up high, that tells you the direction of Mecca. And when you open the closet where the extra pillow is, there's always a prayer rug so you can pray in your hotel room. Always. If your coworkers or your students, in my case it was always my students, like you and you're non-Muslim, they will try and convert you. It's really, really sweet. They will bring you like a bag of free reading material, books about, becoming Muslim and like the basics, like Muslim 101, Islam 101. There are two reasons. One, according to the faith, if they convert a non-Muslim to Islam, they get special benefits in heaven, right? It is to your advantage to try to convert people. It is a conversion faith. But two, and the one that I've always cherished, and the one I keep in my heart, is that they're afraid they're not going to see you in heaven, and they want to make sure you make it. Now, here in the kingdom, if you convert, they give you cash. It comes with cash prizes, but you do have to actually like show that you have truly converted to the faith. You can't just go around and go, yeah, I'm totally Muslim. Hand over the monies. Like, you actually have to show the dedication. You have to speak with the imam. You have to confirm your faith. It's a big deal. It's a proper thing, and it's only like 5,000 SAR, which is a little over $1,000. So you're not going to be buying any boats with this conversion money. Now, if you are very lucky, you get to go to a wedding here. Weddings here are so good, so good. They're divided. The men go into one wedding hall, and the women go into another wedding hall. And they're always stacked on top of each other. It's always one building, but two big halls. And the women all together, and the men are all together. And the family, the married couple and their parents will travel between one hall and the other during the night. When you come in, as a woman, you'll be wearing your abaya because you've been outside. And the first thing you'll get is a little bag, and it will be special made for that event. It'll have like the name of the bride and the groom on it, and in fancy colors and stuff. It's just a little, nice. It's a nice little grocery bag kind of thing, like a reusable grocery bag, right? A fabric grocery bag, and that's to put your abaya in, so you can hang it on the back of your chair by your seat. It is a sea of colors, like every color under the rainbow these women are wearing, and it's nice. It's nice. And it is a lot of fun. There is so much chocolate and so much coffee. If you didn't have diabetes when you walked in the wedding reception room, you will have it when you walk out, because, oh my God, there's a hell of a lot of chocolates being passed out. I mean, yeah, every 3 minutes you'll be asked, would you like more chocolates? God, no more chocolates. All of the weddings happen at night. It's cooler, and people aren't working. Mostly it's just cooler, so you can like crank the AC down a little bit. It's also traditional because of the cooler temperatures that you would have them at night, and they go all night long. I mean, if you're into partying all night, a Saudi wedding is the way to go. They start at about 8 in the evening, and if you go all night, you rock home around 4, maybe 5. Dinner isn't even served until midnight. It's coffee and chocolates until midnight. So eat first. Yeah, do that. I didn't. It was painful. There'll be dancing. There'll be a live band. There'll be usually a live singer as well, and they'll be singing sort of traditional Saudi music, but also like hit pop stuff. Everybody here is big fans of rap music. Big fans of rap music around here. Don't know why. So the family will be there sort of up in the front of the room, and there'll be lots of tables, and everybody will sit around the tables, and you'll all get up and go dancing. And you dance in a long line, going one way, and then you all dance going back the other way, and it's so good. And then, just as you, it comes about 11:30, right before sort of dinner is served on the women's side, the men's family, the groom's family, will come down to speak with the bride's family. And the message will go out. The family is coming. And these are going to be, it's going to include men who are not related to the women in the room, which means that it is no longer a private space for women only and family that they are blood relations to. And if you're not blood relation, then it's considered a public space, which means, whoop-pow, abayas everywhere. Literally in seconds. We heard the news. My friend and I turned around, and when we turned back, the sea of color had turned into a sea of black in seconds. And we're like, what just happened? Did no idea. We're abaya. Okay, we're putting on our abayas. Okay. And the family came in, and that's when we get up and you go and you shake hands with everybody and you congratulate the groom and the bride together. It is very, very nice. But yeah, it was totally unexpected. Was not prepared for how fast those women are with those abayas. Like, it's amazing. Funerals are a whole different story. They're very quiet. They're very private. By Islamic law, a body should be interred within the day, within 24 hours of passing. So they're not like they are in the States. They'll set up like 3 days of mourning, and it will usually happen about 3 to 5 days after the passing, and it will happen at home. And so they'll set up a room for quiet reflection, and then there'll be a room for sort of introductions and meeting and kind of breathing, and certain times. So between, for the next 3 days, between the hours of 3 and 7, the family will receive mourners. And you go to the family home, and you meet the immediate family of the deceased, and you hug and you say how sorry you are that they're gone for whatever reason. And then you go to the room of reflection. Room of reflection is really what it is. And in that room there'll be chairs all around the room, and everybody will be very quietly talking to each other. Mostly they're telling stories of the life of the person, or they're talking about how they're connected to each other, cousins meeting up with cousins again. Or the other thing that happens is they'll bring out a case, a box, and it folds out. And in the box are books. They're not very thick. They're just a couple of, maybe 10, 12 pages each. But together, each of those books makes up the entirety of the Quran. And the intent is that each person in the room will take one book, right, from the stack, and will read that part of the Quran. Right? They'll read that entire book, 10, 15 pages of the Quran, and they'll read that. And everybody will take a different part of the book, different part of the Quran, right? One of the little book pieces, and we'll read it. And we'll pass it around. If they have to go and they haven't finished it, they'll give it to the person sitting next to them and say, I'm here, and then the next person can finish it for them. And the intent there is that by sharing the load of reading the entirety of the entire Quran gets read in one night, because the entire room is reading it all together all at the same time. And so as an honor to the person who has passed, the Quran is read. So those are some of my personal insights, my experiences here living both in an Islamic country and in Saudi itself.